Hello, welcome to my channel, Edible Thoughts Makes. My name is Stephanie, and this is episode 156. I am coming to you from a beautiful spring day. We have finally hit temps ranging from like the low 60s to the upper 80s Fahrenheit, and it just feels so good after a very long winter. It has been about 6 weeks since the previous catch-up video. In between, I released, I think, 2 videos that feature specific projects, and I will reference those if you are interested in checking them out. I have finished several things. I have started several things. Today, it's mostly knitting, a little bit of sewing. I have a book I want to share. I have two books that I want to talk about today, and we'll see how far we get. So if you're new here, I usually do like an intro welcome section, mention the weather, mention the garden. I have this beautiful bouquet here. It is iris and peony season. And honestly, I wasn't sure I was going to be able to carve out time to sit down and chit chat with you and do all the editing and all the things. However, I did not want to miss out on the beautiful season that is irises and peonies. We have a lot of different varieties of peonies, and they don't open all at the same time. So these are the first ones to bloom, and then we have some other varieties as well. And I just wanted you to see them because they are so beautiful and they smell amazing, and I just love them. Tulip season is over. That was in April, end of April. My husband and I are big gardeners, and we plant a lot of perennials so that it is less work. I prefer perennials that are low maintenance. So pruning is fine, but I don't want to have to dig up bulbs and overwinter them and do all the things. I feel like the success rate for that is not very high for us. And so things that I can just leave in the ground that like the cold and that'll just come back up every year are my kind of flowers. So peonies, irises, we love them. What was I saying? Oh yes, the order of these videos. So intro, welcome section, talk a little bit about garden stuff, and then we go into what I'm wearing, which usually has something to do with the finished projects, and then works in progress, and then sometimes there's an eats and reads section where I share with you maybe something I've baked recently, cooked recently that I really enjoyed, and then any books that I have finished recently that I feel like talking about will go in that part, and then sometimes there's a food for thought section. I do have a lot of thoughts actually going on right now that they're usually related to making in some way, shape, or form, but I will just see how I feel once I get to that point, and yeah, we'll see how far we get today. I always include closed captioning on all of my videos here. You can click on that CC button. If I speak faster or slower than your preferences, YouTube also allows you to adjust the speed. I include links to things that I talk about in the description box below this video. Usually I'll just link to like a designer's website if they have one, and you can go find the patterns that you're interested in there. Or maybe it is a local yarn store that has a web shop, and then you can go find the yarns that I talked about there. I do use Ravelry for all of my knit and crocheted items. Sewn items are not on Ravelry. I think that covers all of that. So we're going to get started with what I am wearing. Today I am wearing the Gramercy Tee by Tori. This pattern came out August of 2025, and it is a fingering weight or sport weight garment. It retails at $9.50 for the digital pattern, and the gauge is 24 stitches by 34 rows in 4 inches of stockinette worked flat and in the round after blocking. The sizes come in a finished circumference of 34 inches up to 66 inches. And the recommended amount of ease is 4 to 6 inches of positive ease. I chose the 3rd size because I was going to knit mine at a slightly denser gauge because of the yarn that I used. I just didn't want the fabric to be see-through or gapey or too loose. And so I went to a size 3, which finishes at 42 inches, which at the pattern gauge would give me 10 inches of positive ease, but at a tighter gauge, it probably is closer to about 8 inches of positive ease. And I did not remeasure my fabric gauge after blocking, but it fits great and just like I wanted it to. I prefer my garments to have more positive ease than less positive ease in general. And so if it ended up slightly bigger than it was meant to be, I would be okay with that. Just know that if you make any sort of adjustments like that, then it's kind of like the warranty is void. So however way it turns out may or may not be how you want it, but if it is off from what the designer intended it to be, then you're kind of on your own. The yarn that I used is Amy Sure Makes Comfort Silk Linen. It is a new in-house blend and it is so soft and so nice to wear. I did enjoy knitting with it. I feel like it's a little stringier just based on the fiber content. So it's 50% merino wool at 22.5 microns, super soft, zero itch, and then 25% linen and then 25% mulberry silk. Yes, that adds up to 100%. I feel like the yarn looks similar to Pearl Soho's linen quill, where it has that linen in there, but that one is fine Highland wool, alpaca, and linen. So that one can have a little bit of a prickly factor to it, but also because of the linen content in there, the yarn shows up more heathered in darker colors because the linen doesn't take up the dye the same way as the animal fibers do. For this yarn, the darker colors definitely have that more heathered look, again, because of the linen. However, you don't see it as much in the lighter colors, and especially not in this undyed. Actually, I don't know if this is undyed or not, but the milk tea base is a kind of a creamy white color, and so you don't see that at all because the linen just blends right in. It's a little bit apparent in the jasmine tea, which is this bright spring green, but because my stripes are so little, you don't really see that heathering in there either. I'm currently wearing this with like no camisole underneath, and I feel zero prickliness. It's really comfortable, it's super drapey, and I can definitely see myself knitting future garments with this. I would love to try it held double in more of a DK weight gauge, maybe a looser fabric that isn't as dense. I wouldn't say this is dense in the sense that it's very structured. It's definitely still very drapey. I just didn't want to have a summer garment be something that I have to wear something else underneath because then it isn't very breathable. This yarn comes in 100 gram hanks and 400 yards, which generally I would think a 400 yard yarn that's fingering weight would be a little plumper, but because the fiber content is not all animal fibers, it doesn't plump up the same. It isn't gonna bloom the same as a 100% wool yarn. So even though it is 400 yards and not like light fingering weight like 437 or 463 or something like that, I feel like it behaves more like a light fingering weight yarn because of the linen and the silk content is not gonna bloom the same way. So hopefully that made sense. Oh, and looking at my notes here, the main color milk tea is undyed. And I ended up using 181 grams or about 723 yards of the main color and about 31 grams of the green, which is the equivalent of 121 yards for a total of 211 grams or about 844 yards. I did initially swatch on a US 4, which is what the pattern calls for, but it was just too gapey of a fabric for me, so then I went down to a US 3, 3.25 millimeter needle, and then my ribbing was done on US 1.5, which is a 2.5 millimeter needle, which is like sock needles for me, and so I did feel like the ribbing took forever, but it's so worth it. It looks so tidy, and I really like how it wears. I did knit more ribbing in all of the rib sections because my row gauge was going to be different since I went down in needle size. And then I did my bind offs a little different. I think the pattern calls for a tubular bind off, but I did a knit round and then I bound off knit wise with the larger needle just to have that knit finish, and I just like that. I felt like the colors I chose felt very sporty and springy and fresh, and I honestly at the time just didn't feel like doing a sewn bind off, so I didn't do it. For the sleeves, I did do an extra repeat of the stripes because I just felt like it wasn't long enough where it would have ended. And I did do, I think, an extra decrease or maybe even 2 extra decreases. I did pick up, I think, 4 extra stitches from what the pattern recommends because I was just worried that it was going to be too small. It ended up being just right. I have not measured it again to see how it matches with the pattern measurements, but it fits comfortably and it doesn't go into my elbow. I'm going to stand up here so hopefully you can see it a little better. I like it to land right above my elbow so that when I bend my arm, it isn't going to crease the fabric strangely and leave a line there, but I also didn't want it too short. The body length is definitely cropped. I don't think I adjusted anything in there from the pattern aside from how I did my bind offs, so I like to wear it with high-waisted linen pants or shorts or skirts. I have not worn this out yet. Honestly, it had been way too chilly to wear a short sleeve sweater, and so I'm just pulling it out now. I have it on with these June pants by Helen's Closet, a Canadian pattern company that I love and you've heard me talk about multiple times here before if you've been here for any amount of time. There are pockets. It's elastic waist, it's a high-waisted pant. You can adjust the rise however way you want it for what you like, but I love this bright green linen. Who knew it would match with so many things? And I think it's just the perfect match for the Gramercy tee. Let me just check my notes to see if there's anything else I wanted to share about this. I don't think there's really anything else for me to say. The length is as written, the sleeves are slightly longer. My gauge was a little tighter, all done on purpose. Yeah, I think that is it on the Gramercy tee by Tori Yu. Just kidding, forgot to mention that the yarn was gifted to me by Amy Sure to test out their new base and show it off and see what I think about it. And I love it, and I'm so grateful that my friend Amy puts trust in me to try out their yarn and to knit it up into something beautiful. The next 2 finished projects I'm going to talk about, I'm actually going to refer you to videos that I already created for them. I'll flash the thumbnail here on the screen so it's easier to look for. The first one is the Coffee Date by Samantha Guerin. I love how this sweater turned out. I had been dreaming a version of this since November of 2025. It is now the beginning of June, year 2026. I think I forgot to say that in the beginning, but I love how this sweater turned out. It is so lovely, and it is exactly what I wanted. It looks a little different from the original one because I did add in stripes for all of the ribbed sections that are at the cuffs, hem, and neckband, and I did them all slightly different. And yeah, so if you want to find out more details about this sweater, I would refer you to the finished featured project video about the Coffee Date by Samantha Guerin. The other video I'm going to refer you to is the one where I upcycle a men's shirt to have a ruffled collar. I kind of walk you through a step-by-step. It isn't a tutorial in the sense where I like show you how to do those steps or how to use your sewing machine, but I do walk you through how I did it. And hopefully it's clear enough for those who have some sewing skills to be able to follow along and make an upcycled shirt for yourself. Here I have a 4th one. This one I did a little bit different. I am still on this neon green thing. I have had this shirt for some time. My mom found it for me, and I had been really wanting a neon green linen shirt, and so I'd mentioned to her maybe a couple of years ago, and then she found one maybe a year later, and I really wanted to make it a little more, I don't know, a little more something. And so I had this leftover lemony lime, lemon lime, what am I trying to say here? I had this bright linen. Oh, I know, I'm getting stuck. It's all L's, lemon lime linen. Anyway, I took off the original collar and I added this band of linen on top. I did not cut off any part of the bottom on this one. The other video, I do show how you cut off the fabric on the bottom to crop it and use that fabric for the ruffle. But this has a split hem, and this is a women's shirt, and it fits me great, and I did not want to cut off the bottom, and so I just added additional fabric. I think I did a 30-inch by 4-inch rectangle, and if you want to know how that works, go to that other video. I'll have the thumbnail on the screen. Hopefully I have shown it at some point so you can see what it looks like. Maybe I'll just throw this shirt on real quick so you can see. I have worn it over a strappy gingham dress. I'll flash a picture of that on the screen. I tie the bottom of the shirt, and I like how it looks on that dress because I don't always want my straps showing, and having a really lightweight linen shirt on top just gives more sun coverage, but it still keeps me cooler. So I will just show you what this looks like here. I am full on shades of green here. I suppose that's pretty perfect for spring, but here we are. Hopefully you can see it okay. Maybe not. Maybe if I bend down, this is not working so well, is it? I don't have a viewfinder, so I don't actually know what things look like on your end until I'm in the editing phase of all this. So I just do the best that I can and hope that it works out. But here it is. I love how it looks. It gives great sun coverage on the back of my neck. And I just think it's so much fun. It just adds a little flair. I love a two-toned moment. I feel like it can really create a something. Like it says something, but it's not too in your face. I think you could do it with like red and pink, pink and orange. You can really do whatever you want. You can go complementary colors. I think that would be super fun. If you had a denim shirt and you wanted to add like a little floral pop on the top that had like pink orange flowers in it. I think that would be really cute. So lots and lots of options. I love doing this. This is my 4th one. I don't see myself stopping anytime soon. I just think it's so much fun. So if you need a little encouragement, if you have a little bit of sewing skills already figured out, go to that video and see if it's something that you might be interested in doing for yourself. So as I'm pulling up my next finished project to share with you, I realized I did a very poor job telling you anything about the construction of the Gramercy tee. So the reason the next project reminded me is because it's a similar construction. So I guess I will just talk about both of the constructions simultaneously. They are both top-down V-necks, saddle shoulder construction. And so the saddle shoulder is basically your swatch. And you can knit those 2 rectangles first, block them, see where you're at, and then go from there. And so what I am talking about for my next one is the Lakes V-neck pullover by Haley Smedley of Ozetta. I love this sweater so much. This pattern was gifted to me by a friend off of my Ravelry wish list. And I had been dreaming about creating this Lakes V-neck to represent the Great Lakes, which I love. And the water will look kind of gray, blue, green in overcast lighting. And then when it's sunny, it's a much brighter gray, blue, green color. And so it took me a bit to figure out what color combination, what yarn combination I wanted to do. I also wanted to use mohair to emulate the fog and steam rising off of the waters when it is really early in the morning. And I think I did it. So I'm going to put a picture of the yarn here on the screen so you can see the 2 colors that I used. I'll also show you what yarn I have remaining. I was working with limited yardage, or rather I purchased just the right amount, but then one of the yarns did not come as like full 50 grams, which I knew that, so I should have just bought an extra one, but anyway, that's where I was at. So I used a Rare Natura Penelope, and I have knit with this yarn before. This I purchased from Amy Sure Makes online shop. This is the colorway Armoise. And the previous time that I purchased this yarn, I also didn't buy enough because the yarn also didn't come in full 50 grams. So when I'm calculating my yardages, I am assuming my yarn is going to come in 50 grams because that's what it says. But when it doesn't, then I end up being short, sometimes anywhere from like 5 to 10 grams total short, depending on how much yarn I had purchased. I did end up with a little bit left because I was being very careful. And then the other yarn that I purchased, this I purchased from Knitting Starlight Society out in Portland, Oregon. It's Knitting for Olive Soft Silk Mohair. Amy also carries this base, but did not have this color that I was looking for. It is the Dusty Petroleum Blue color. This is 70% kid mohair, 30% silk. And this comes in 25 grams. And so I have plenty of the mohair left. I mean, it doesn't look like a lot, but it goes pretty far. And then I have just a little bit of the Penelope left. And the reason I have a teeny bit left is because I substituted in a different yarn for the inside of the folded neckband just in case, because that part is not going to be seen anyway. I used a leftover Knitting for Olive soft silk mohair and dark cognac that I used in a different sweater. I just had a teeny bit left, I think like 2 grams, and so I figured I'd just use it up. And then the brown is Knitting Yarn DK 100% non-superwash merino by Pearl Soho, and I had that left over from another project too, so I just figured I would use it up on the inside. And that did save me, I think 15 grams or something. I can't remember. I wrote it down somewhere. And I did need to do that. I probably didn't need to do as much as I did, but I did end up needing to do that. I used 15 grams of the brown, and then all I had left was 3 grams of the mohair and 11 grams of the Penelope. So I did need it. I was cutting pretty close. I think it turned out beautifully. I'm going to put some pictures here on the screen so you can see the pictures of me wearing this garment on the rocky shores of Lake Superior, and I think I nailed it. I think I totally nailed the color inspiration, and I have so many beautiful memories wearing this on the shores of Lake Superior. I'm going to put it on for you real quick now, but it is warm, so I'm not sure I can keep this on for more than like 30 seconds, or I'm just going to start sweating profusely. Okay, I can already feel myself sweating. This is a very warm garment. The Penelope is a DK weight, and that plus the mohair, it's pretty toasty. But it is a beautiful garment. I love how it turned out. I used 98 grams of the mohair, 385 grams of the Penelope, and calculating from the beginning, I knew I was going to be about 17 grams short. So I just had to be pretty careful about it. This garment comes in 40 to 70 inches of finished bust circumference, and that's XS to 5XL, and I knit the second size, which is a small, to give me 10 inches of positive ease. I definitely wanted this garment to be something I could throw over anything. The designer is 5 feet 2 inches. I'm 5 feet 5 inches. So the sleeves on me tend to be short, and I usually extend them by 2 inches. They will look oversized on her, but they do not look oversized on me because my arms are just longer than hers and I'm taller than she is. This is where I'm going to go off on a little tangent here. I don't understand why all garments are based off of bust circumference. Like the lengths and how everything is graded is based off of bust circumference. My bust circumference then tends to be on the smaller end compared to the rest of my body. So I am 5 feet 5 inches, my arms are longer, my legs are longer, my torso is longer compared to what you would say for my bust circumference. And so I end up having to extend everything. Now similarly for those who might be on the bigger end of bust circumference for their height, they end up having to shorten everything. So they might think they have a short torso, or maybe they actually do, but I'm just saying it's all relative. So like, your torso may be shorter because your bust circumference is bigger. There's just like a lot of adjusting to do, and I don't understand why it's all based on bust circumference. Like, I guess you gotta pick something to base it all off of, because how would it work if you based it off of your torso, your arms? I don't know. Tangent, like I said. So basically what I'm saying is when I'm going off of a size just based on my bust circumference, I end up having to lengthen other things because I may be smaller on this end, but not necessarily smaller on my arms. Okay? So sleeves, I did not extend like I normally would because I was running short on yarn. So it doesn't come out as long as it shows in the pattern photos. Pattern photos has it down, I think maybe even to her knuckles, and mine are not. So it's fine. I plan on wearing this as an overlayer. I can put it on over a flannel. I can put it on over t-shirts. And if I wear fingerless gloves, it'll cover my wrist. It fits great. It's so comfortable. It is so warm right now. I'm going to take it off. I think I forgot to mention the gauge in the pattern. It's 17 stitches by 26 rows on 5.5 millimeter needles, which is a US 9. And I used a US 9. Yeah, so I think I followed everything in the needle sizes. US 9, 5.5 millimeter for the main, US 8, 5 millimeters for the cuffs and hem, and US 6, 4 millimeters for the V-neck collar. And what I did for folding it down, I can't remember what it says in the pattern. I am holding the pattern, I realize. I could tell you, but I'm using it as a fan right now because, whew, that was very toasty. So for the V-neck collar, what I did is I used another size needle, like a US 3 16 inch maybe, or 24 inch, and I picked up on the stitches that I'm supposed to be knitting it down to, or whip stitching it to, whatever you want to do. And that way I could ensure I had the right number of stitches that I was going to knit the live stitches to, so that I don't at the end end up with something skewed, which is very easy to do. And so I found that method to work really well. And then you can bind off, do it like a, I think it's a 3 needle bind off, because you knit through both. Yeah, I think that would be a 3 needle bind off. It's escaping me right now. You can use a bigger needle to do that to make sure it's not going to be too tight. V-necks tend to be okay because I feel like they're a little more open, so I don't worry too much about that, but still I don't like anything tight around my neck. And so I probably used the bigger needle size to bind off. I think I used a US 8 to do the knit two together bind off for the neckband. Whew, okay. I might have to go get some water or something. I'm not trying to be really dramatic, but already running a little warm. And then I put on this DK mohair sweater over a sweater. Okay, that was a lot. I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I've cooled off a little bit. We are now going to talk about works in progress. I have a few, and I don't think you've seen any of them. The first one I'm going to share with you, I'm actually knitting as part of Tori YeJi's Knit Along. It is on all of her tees and tanks patterns, and I believe it runs through the end of August. You can check out her Instagram for more information. So I've had a birthday since the last time I was here, and I treated myself, and Knit and Bolt in Minneapolis has this birthday rewards program where when it is the month of your birthday, they give you $20 to spend in the shop. And so I did go and pick up some fabric, and I don't think I bought any yarn. I think I just bought fabric. And I sewed myself the most adorable project bag. I do not use a pattern, any tutorials for my project bags, and I don't intend on making any either. So if you want to make a project bag, there are tons of patterns and tutorials out there, some free, some paid for. If you are near a sewing store, they often do classes for making a lot of different things. And so I recommend you look there for resources. I am not providing those resources. I've been sewing since I was a little kid, and it runs in my family. Sewing runs on my husband's side of the family. And so it's just part of me. It's just what I do. And so I am going to show you what I made. Oh, it's so cute. These drinks are the cutest. It is a Ruby Star Society fabric. When I can, I love including the selvage edge that includes what the fabric is. I think that's fun. I'll just do a smaller seam allowance on that side so that it can showcase more of the text. I think it's a fun way to include it, and I love how this fabric looks. It's so fun. They also had this really fun webbing there. The webbing is not cotton. Usually I try to use cotton for my webbing. This is probably polyester or nylon, but the color was so fun, and I decided I needed to have it to match this bag. And then I used this light blue fabric. I think it was just scrap from something else. And then the inside, I also purchased this navy fabric with lines on it, like kind of like washi tape. It was in their quarters, fat quarters section. I love good fat quarter. I can make so many fun things out of it. I did cut off some of the fat quarter to use for like a sock, like a 50 gram maybe little drawstring pouch, or I can turn it into a little zippers, like notions pouch type of thing too. So I haven't made those yet. Those are on the side waiting for a future time to make something. And then the inside, I have this duck canvas for pockets, and on the bottom I also use canvas just so it's a little sturdier. And I do like to line the inside with fusible fleece just to give it a little more structure, but it's still plenty squishy. I like my bags not to have too much structure because they're often shoved into like a backpack or a tote bag or something else for knitting on the go, but I do like them to be able to stand up on their own. So I feel like the fusible fleece really lends itself to being squishable, but still can be like a bucket bag. So what's in here, you may ask? This is my Avenue Tee by Tori YeJi. I've been wanting to cast this on probably since last year. I can't remember when it came out. It is a top-down construction and part of her Avenue collection. I have knit, I think, almost everything in the Avenue collection. I tested the pullover, I tested the vest, I tested the tank. That will be coming out June 12th. The tee I did not have time to apply to test at the time, and so I'm casting it on now. Tori is a Chinese-American designer based in New York, and this pattern came out April of 2025, retails at $9.50 USD. It is fingering weight garment, 24 stitches by 33 rows in 4 inches of stockinette. Recommended needles are a US 4, 3.5 millimeter, and a US 2, 2.75 millimeter needles. I am using the recommended needles. Finished bust circumference comes in 32 inches up to 64 inches, and the recommended amount of ease is 1 to 4 inches of positive ease. And all the yardages are given for each of the sizes. I have cast on for the second size for 4 inches of positive ease. That is on the upper end of ease. And if I decide to lengthen it, I might add a little bit of A-line shaping just so I still have ease around my hips. We'll see how I feel once I get to that point. I do have enough yarn. I picked up this yarn at Shepherd's Harvest Festival at the Washington Fairgrounds in May. And this is a local dyer, Fiber MacGyver. Gorgeous colors, so much fun, and this color is Blueness. It is the merino silk lace, 80% merino, 20% silk, non-superwash, and it comes at a whopping 875 yards for $100. grams. So I purchased 2 of them, totaling to $60 for 200 grams. And I am holding those double. That way I don't have to alternate yarn, because for indie dyed yarn, you often are recommended to alternate. That way you don't have any pooling or color differentiation, because it is hand dyed and there's going to be variation. That's the beauty of hand dyed yarn. So here is the color Blueness. I know this color is having such a moment right now, and I'm here for it. I've been wanting to make something in this bright cobalt blue for some time, and because it is very popular right now, there are a lot of people dyeing this, and there are a lot of options. So there are more options for different bases, different shades of this particular vibrant cobalt blue, and that can be so much fun. So I'm holding this yarn together, and I have plenty of yardage. I weighed it, and I actually have 219 grams total, and that is the equivalent of 1,915 yards. So I would divide that in half to figure out my fingering weight yardage, and here is what I've got going. So here is the yoke. I'm on the increases. I have a progress keeper on here from Reshma of Hello Lavender. And this is knitting up so beautifully. I have the Fiber MacGyver stitch stoppers on here. When you purchase from them in person, they give you a little freebie bag of these stitch stoppers and the silicone tubing. And I am just so happy with how this is turning out. It makes me so happy. I love how this shoulder and neckline shaping looks. That's also something signature to the Avenue line that Tori has published. And I think it just looks so tidy, and I love it. I don't know if there's much more I want to say right now about the pattern. I've pretty much told you everything, I think. And I will share more once I am farther along or have completed it, whenever I get back to this space to chit-chat with you. Summer chaos brings a different chaos from school year chaos. And I would like to carve out time to hopefully come here and chat with you once a month, but it's hard to say what the summer will bring. I am not somebody who records here on a weekly schedule or anything like that. I don't promise any of that stuff. This is kind of a production, but it's not a production for me in the sense that it's not like a TV show programming. We don't have like regularly scheduled programming here. It doesn't work that way. I have to want to be here, have the energy, have the time, have the space, have the motivation to record and process and edit and all those things in order to show up in this space. It doesn't mean I'm not making. I am always making things. It is just a different kind of creative energy that I need to have to show up in this specific space. So I do thank you for being here. It means a lot. If you weren't here, then I would just be talking to the internet black hole, and that would be no fun. So I do appreciate you being here, and I love the interaction that people bring to this space to share with me things that they have tried, to share color combinations that they are really loving right now, patterns that they are enjoying, and how they are responding to the things that I have to share. That can be really exciting and fun to see, and I just hope that you find some inspiration in this space, because that's why I'm here sharing. I'm not here to convince you to buy certain things or to convince you that you need to make something. I don't like people telling you what to do. What I hope is that you gain inspiration to figure out what is going to make you excited about something in your life. What color combinations you may not have thought about and think, okay, maybe I can fit that in. Maybe I do like that. Maybe that's something that's gonna be awesome. Or maybe you're like, ooh, I'm glad I saw that because I do not want to have anything to do with that shade of whatever color it is. And so I think there's just so much to be said about being able to share that creativity and have it just keep like rippling out and see where it goes and see where it takes people. And I just find that so much fun. So much fun. Anyway, that's why I'm here. I just went off on a super interesting tangent. Interesting is subjective. On to the next project. The next project I want to share with you is a test that I am doing for Sophie of the Knit Purl Girl. It is my first time testing for Sophie, and it is the first time I'm doing a test that's run through Canva. So they put their pattern up on Canva, and then you comment on there, and she responds to those comments and edits through Canva. I've done it through Google Docs. I've done it just through like email. I've also done it through Slack, There's also been conversations, usually in Discord, but I've just never done it on Canva. So that's new to me. It's my first time testing for Sophie. This is the Cove Raglan. There's already the Cove pullover out on Ravelry, and that is not in a raglan construction. That's the word I'm looking for. And so she's updating it to include a raglan construction. Although I'm not sure if including is the right word. I don't know if it's like a separate pattern or like another version of that pattern. Anyway, the stitch counts, everything is going to be different. So it would be totally different, but have a similar look, just a different construction for people looking for something a little different from that. Maybe one fits your body better than the other. So I'm testing the raglan version. The yarns I am using are one new to me and one not new to me. When North Bay Fiber had a sale, I think it was in February, because they were changing the name of one of their bases to something else. So I think right now it's Bay something Sport and Bay House Sport maybe. And at the time it was called Heritage Sport. And so this is the yarn. I've never tried this woolen spun yarn before. It is 100% sourced, spun, and hand dyed in the US. The yarn is sourced from Michigan, and it's spun in Wisconsin, and it's hand dyed in Michigan. I think that's super cool. And this colorway is Hudson. It's this beautiful blue. There is some slight variegation in it. I think maybe some like light and darks, so it's a little bit tonal. And this one is sport weight. It's non-superwash 2-ply. I mentioned it's woolen spun. It comes in 225 yards for 50 grams, and it's 23 to 24 microns. It is a hand wash yarn, and it is really nice to knit with. It is 100% Targhee Polypay wool. I've never tried that before, and I feel like it's really soft, but feels different from merino in the sense that you can feel it. Like it's not as slick, and it feels very like puffy when I'm knitting with it. So I'm holding it with Pearl Soho Tussock that I purchased on sale in December of 2025. This is 60% superfine kid mohair, 40% silk. The colorway is Lapis Lazuli, and it comes at 328 yards for 25 grams. I bought 3 of these for a total of about, I think, $60. So I'm holding these together, and I'm hoping the mohair will soften some of the variation in the tonality of the blue, just so there's less potential for pooling anywhere. And I just think it's going to create a beautiful fabric. This pattern is knit at a 17 stitch by 24 row gauge. I'll talk more about all the details once the pattern's released. It isn't going to be until September, so I'm just slowly working on this. I have split for body and sleeves. I've just split. So here we are. The neckband will be picked up later. I really like this wide raglan at the shoulders. I love how that looks. I think the stitch definition is really nice. She uses US 6 and US 8 to achieve gauge, but I needed to go up a needle size. I'm just not as loose of a knitter as Sophie is. And of course, using different yarns, you can achieve different densities and your tension will vary. And so I'm knitting this currently on US 9s, 5.5 millimeter needles. I love this color. I think it's just beautiful. I have the sleeve stitches on hold right now, so I'm going to knit more of the body and then come back and knit the sleeve stitches once my yarn runs out on the body, I think. And I'll probably still alternate the indie dyed yarns just a little bit as I transition from one to the next. That way I just make sure there's less of a chance of like a harsh line anywhere. And yeah, so slowly working on this, not due till September. It can be a little hot to be knitting with this in my lap right now anyway, so I'm just knitting out on it here and there as I can, and you will hear more about it come September. We have made it to the last work in progress I'm going to share with you today. I have cast on the Nosti tee. I'm not actually sure how to pronounce it. I was trying to go back and look at episodes to see when Rebecca of the Crayabea had talked about it, and I think she said it's Nosti. It If any of you know the correct pronunciation, please feel free to correct me. This is a bottom-up construction all over eyelet and ribbed pattern. It comes in short sleeves, long sleeves, and I am planning on doing the full length body. I think it's more like high hip maybe, and then the long sleeve version. However, I haven't looked to see if there are decreases along the bottom. I think it's a tapered sleeve, but I think I want to do a wide sleeve and end it more like bracelet length or 3/4 length. I want it to feel airy and flowy, and I am picking a size bigger than what's recommended for ease in the pattern. The pattern recommends picking a size that is 2 to 4 inches bigger than your chest, and I think I'm picking one that's more like 6 inches of positive ease. And because it is a drop shoulder construction, I'm not worried about the shoulders fitting necessarily properly like I would maybe for a set-in sleeve or something with a more tailored sleeve. And so I'm going up in positive ease. I am using my beloved Cotton Merino Plein Air yarn by Pearl Soho. I did receive yarn support for this specific project. I love this yarn so much for warmer weather garments. Now, it is DK weight, so it isn't going to make you feel cool by any means, but I'm also not going to put on a sweater in the middle of summer if I want to feel cool. So this is a sweater that I plan on wearing, early mornings, in air conditioning, museums, things like that. And so with the eyelets too, I think it'll be very breezy and comfortable, and a nice layering piece over like t-shirts, tank tops, things like that. So this yarn is 67% wool and 33% organically grown cotton. This main color is called Pink Salt. It's this very pale pink color. And I decided to make mine 2 colors instead of 1 color because that's how I roll. And this color is Sweet Apricot. It's a slightly heathered, kind of faded pinky orange color. And I'm using that for the ribbed sections, and I'm striping in the main color. So this is bottom up. I have just finished the body hem. On here I have a Progress Keeper and Stitch Marker by my friend YeJi of Handmade Co. And I love the tulips and cherries. I think it's so cute. So here is the body hem. I also did something a little different with the cast on. I don't remember what the cast on says in the pattern, but I did an old Norwegian cast on and then I knit around before starting my 1x1 rib. And I decided to do 5 rounds of the orange, 4 rounds of the pink, 3 rounds of the orange, 4 rounds of the pink, 3 rounds of the orange, and then start the chart for the pattern. I think it's really fun, and in between the color changes, I did 1 round of knitting without any purling, and that is counted into the sequence that I just told you, and I love how it looks. I think it's so fun. I love this color combination, and so now I'm just going to start the patterning in the main color, go until it tells me to stop, see how it measures on my body, and then you do the front and the backs separately. And then I will knit the sleeves, and then I'll pick up for the neckband. The cuffs I'm going to do with both colors as well, but I'm going to do my stripes probably a little bit differently just because I can and because I want to. And I think it's gonna look really fun. I would love to have this done by the end of June. We'll see. It is a DK weight garment. Surprisingly for this DK weight garment, it is knit on US 4s. Now I think Rebecca is a looser knitter than I am, so I would generally go up a needle size, but I feel like this yarn is working for me in the sense that because it's cotton merino, it's not going to want to bounce back or like shrink up as much, even if there's ribbed texture all over. So I think if I was using like a wool yarn, like all wool, I would probably want to go up to a US 5 or even a US 6. But because I'm using a cotton merino yarn that doesn't necessarily want to like shrink back up on itself, I think the US 4 is going to still give me a fabric that'll relax nicely and still meet gauge. I will show you how this goes over time. Who knows, maybe the next time I come back it'll be finished. One can hope. We are on to the Eats and Reads section. I wanted to share with you a cookbook that I received for my birthday from my husband, and it is 100 Afternoon Treats by Sarah Kiefer. She is a Minneapolis-based baker, and I have her other 2 books, the 100 Cookies and the 100 Morning Treats. And I think her recipes are really well written. I will say they are not for anybody that is trying to cut down on butter or sugar. There's plenty of butter and sugar in these recipes. And of course you can modify however way you wish, but similarly to knitting patterns, if you modify anything, it's kind of voiding your warranty. You don't know how it's going to turn out. It may be better, it may be worse. It's on you. But I did try one of the recipes, and it is the blueberry crumble bars. If I have a picture of the ones I made, I'll have it here on the screen so you can see what they look like. They are delicious. I did go off script a little bit, as I do. I used blueberries, but I didn't have enough, so I added a fresh apple. I just chopped it up real fine, and I also added rhubarb. Now, this is the season for rhubarb in Minnesota. Ours, I need to move. I don't think it likes where it's at, and so we did get some rhubarb gifted to us, and so I put that in there. But yeah, I just need to move mine. I don't think it likes the spot that it's at. Rhubarb season is upon us. I love rhubarb. Strawberry rhubarb, oh, so good. I love anything strawberry rhubarb. But this one, I made a blueberry rhubarb apple crumble bar. So good, so good. And you make it in a sheet pan. So it makes a lot, which is great for like brunches, get-togethers. May, June is kind of the season for like hangouts. You know, you have like graduation parties, you have recitals, you have a lot of things. May is a lot. But if you are looking for something to bring, because you're supposed to bring something, I feel like making these bars in the sheet pan is the way to go. We hosted some friends recently, and I made these along with brownies, and it just made it so easy because you're not like scooping out individual things like you would for cookies. You just kind of bake it all at once and cut it up. And maybe bars is kind of a Midwest thing. I kind of felt like it was when I moved and lived in other places. I feel like we make a lot of bars here in the Midwest, and I love it. I'm from the Midwest. What can I say? All right, I've got a book to share with you. It is The Swan's Daughter, a possibly doomed love story by Roshani Chokshi. I don't know if I said that right. I'm so sorry. I can't think of it right now. If you're not familiar with how I do my reading or book type of stuff here, I don't usually tell you like a summary of the story. I'm always worried I'm going to give something away that I want you to discover for yourself. I like being able to go into books not necessarily always knowing everything. Sometimes I do. Sometimes I give myself spoilers, but I'll still read it. I just don't do that because you can find that information elsewhere. What I do share with you is my like response or reaction to a book, in the sense of what did I think of the writer's style? Did I connect with the characters? Did I like the ending? Did I not? What did it leave me feeling like? And so that's what you'll get. I do put a picture of the book here on the screen. I'm a very visual person. Oftentimes I don't remember author names or titles. I'm so sorry, but I do remember what the book looks like. So that will be here on the screen. This book was published January 2026. It is a standalone book, and it is not spicy at all. So if you are looking for a book that's not spicy, this one might be your ticket. It is young adult fantasy, dark humor, awkward romance, so funny. It is exploring what is a life worth living question in like a very funny way. It's lighthearted. You don't take it too seriously. Don't ask too many questions. Just enjoy it for the ride. That's what I did. You've got family dynamics, questionable relationships. It is very nature focused. I loved that. And it's just whimsical. It was so much fun. I enjoyed the ride. And if you like a metallic sprayed edge, that's kind of cool. Honestly, I do think more time and money can be spent on editing books rather than like all of the cosmetic things. But I also understand from a marketing perspective, that's kind of how you sell books. But I don't know. I still feel like, not necessarily this book, I did enjoy this one, but I feel like the sprayed edges and the multiple different cover editions and all of the money put towards all of that part of things maybe kind of went overboard, in my opinion. For those who like collecting books, I am not passing any judgment on that. You do what you want to do. I just feel like more attention can be put to editing some of the books, because some of them even have like, I don't know, missing words or grammatical errors, or maybe I'm just so tired that I'm like, what's going on here? And there's a lot of copy pasting going on. It kind of feels like that with like tropes. And anyway, I went on a romantasy rant in my previous episode, so if you want to hear that, you can go there. Don't take it all too seriously in the sense that I'm like boo-hooing anybody. I'm still going to read romantasy. I just have opinions about it. And I think it's okay to have opinions. And I think it's okay to critique things. I think it's actually healthy and a good thing to have critical thinking skills. I said what I said. back to the book. If you're looking for a whimsical YA fantasy that reads a little bit different from all of the other very popular romantasy sensations out there, I would check out The Swan's Daughter, a possibly doomed love story. The next book I want to share with you is one I am so proud of. I'm so proud of my friend Andrea of the Knitting PT. She sent me a copy of her book, Craft Without Pain. Andrea, I'm so proud of you. Andrea is a physical therapist and she has a YouTube channel, she has an Instagram, she has a website, she does consultations, and on Wednesdays she shares what she's working on and gives you a tip on how you can craft pain-free. It's so much fun and they're short clips, and a lot of the things I can actually do in the car while I'm waiting for the kids. I've taught my kids some of the different exercises too, and they find it super fun to do and helpful. And I just think there's so much we can do to take care of ourselves, of our bodies. Our future selves will thank us, our present selves will thank us. And if we want to be able to keep making things or doing the things that we love, it doesn't even necessarily have to do with crafting, but just like daily life, I think taking care of ourselves is a huge deal. And a lot of these things you can do without any extra tools. You just need yourself and sometimes a mirror or sometimes a chair, but this is gold. Good job, Andrea. So let me tell you just a little bit about it if you're unfamiliar. It goes through the different parts of your body, so your spine, upper body, lower body. There's a section for next steps so you can set your goals, do a weekly check-in. I thought it was funny, Andrea had mentioned that she doesn't like to write in her books, and I feel the same way about like books like this that have like the shiny pages, because I feel like I'm breaking some sort of rule or doing something bad by writing in them. I don't always mind annotating like a paperback book. I don't know if it's the type of paper that makes a difference, but I will probably just like photocopy or I don't know, write in another notebook if I decide to set goals or do things like that. I might not. I'll probably just put tabs in for the different sections of things I'm doing and maybe write on Post-its and stick it in there. We'll see where I go with this. I am really excited to look more into this. I don't usually have any pain. Like my hands will get sore sometimes depending on the yarn that I'm working with, or I'm trying to meet a deadline or something like that. But I feel like, knock on wood, that I craft pretty pain-free in general. Maybe it's also like I rotate through a lot of different projects, so I'm using different needle sizes, different yarn weights, and the movement of my hands is just going to be different as I rotate through. And I'm often picking up and putting things down kind of throughout the day. So when people ask me, oh, how long did it take you to make that? Well, I don't really know, and I'm not one to time how long I'm sitting for to do anything, because sometimes it's literally like 10 stitches on a sock and other times it's like 20 rounds. And so it just kind of varies, but my hands do end up kind of switching things up a lot. And I also cook and bake almost every day. Well, I definitely cook every day. I don't bake every day, but yeah, so I feel like my hands do get a lot of use, and it is important to take care of them, because if I can't use them, well, there's a lot of stuff that I cannot do. So Craft Without Pain, Andrea says it's available in a lot of different places where you can buy books. A lot of local yarn stores are carrying it. And yeah, so check it out. Craft Without Pain. Congratulations again, Andrea. I love you. I'm so proud of you. And now everybody can have a little bit of Andrea in their house. We are on the food for thought section, but my mind is so jumbled that I don't think there's going to be a food for thought section. I did have a lot of things on my mind that I wanted to share that I thought about kind of throughout the last month or so, but then I didn't write anything down. So nothing is set in like a tangible way to really share. It's just kind of all floating in my head, and maybe I'll just shoot some of it out to you anyway, because I've started kind of mentioning the food for thought in the sense that I've introduced this section, and so it would be way more work now for me to edit things out and repaste things in or whatever. So food for thought. I've been thinking a lot about how people share information and present themselves in the YouTube space and the internet. I feel like a lot of things have kind of changed over the last several years as far as what audiences expect from people. And I'm using the word audience just in the sense of like, someone's watching you, right? Ultimately, I think what I'm trying to get at is like expectations. And if you've been here for some time, you'll know that I feel pretty strongly about boundaries. I don't like to share a lot of like very personal details of my life. I feel like this is a very open space and not everybody needs to know everything. And that's okay. And what I choose to keep private is my personal choice. What other people feel like is okay to share, that's their personal choice. And I don't feel like the expectations of how much one person shares should necessarily be put on everybody else. Like my space here is not a reality TV show. I don't like doing like day in the life vlog type of things. I feel like that's an invasion of my own privacy as well as an invasion of the privacy of those that I live with, those that I'm around. I don't feel like that is something that I personally want to share on the internet. I feel like there has been some talk about people shifting towards doing more like vlog, video log style videos as far as knitting channels go, maybe in general, but that's not for me. So I'm gonna do what works for me. If you haven't noticed, I do what I want to do. And so there's no like regularly scheduled programming here. There's no hot takes. There are no clickbait, rage bait type of things. I don't like any of those things. I know that everybody is seeking attention and clicks and viewership and viral things and whatever. That's not for me. And I think that's okay. And I think if you're feeling that way, I'm just putting it out there so that you can maybe feel a little less pressure on that. I don't feel the pressure. I feel like I just do whatever I want. This is my creative space. This is my hobby. I'm coming here to share with you creativity and inspiration, like I alluded to earlier. But to each their own. I'm not saying you can't monetize your hobbies. I'm not saying you can't share what you want to share about your life. You do you. I'm just saying that people shouldn't place expectations on everyone as a whole because there's one content creator they like that share all the things and then other people don't. And for the record, I really don't like that phrase, that label, content creator, because I don't know. I don't feel like I'm here to create content for you. I'm sharing with you the things that I'm excited about. And maybe you would label that as content, but I'm not making things for the channel, if that makes any sense. I'm making things, and then sometimes I share those things here on the channel to inspire you and hope that you can find that creativity, that creative energy in your life. Maybe it's just the way different people approach their creative outlets, their creative spaces, and I think it's great to be different. I think we all bring something different to the table, and that's amazing and beautiful. And I don't want to add to any noise. I think that's ultimately when I started the channel. I wanted to make sure that I didn't add to the noise, that I didn't go in any direction that made me feel like this wasn't for me or this isn't what I wanted to bring to the table. And so, yeah. There you go. There's my food for thought. I don't have like a direct question. There's nothing like mind-blowing about what I had to share here, but it's something that I've been thinking about a lot because I just feel like the internet has grown into such a vast space with so much noise, and I just want to make sure I'm not adding to that noise because I don't want to be part of that noise. It's also another reason why I keep this channel ad-free. I don't monetize it. I feel like the ads for me are very distracting and noisy, and I just don't like it. Again, if you choose to monetize, that's fine. That works for you. You don't have to have an explanation. I don't need people to tell me why they're doing it. I don't need to know. It's fine. I can accept you for who you are. You do you. I just choose not to do it because it isn't what works for me. I also think it's important to remember that people are multidimensional. I think McKenzie of M3 had recently mentioned that in an episode about, what was it? I think she had mentioned not liking triangular shawls, but then she was casting out a triangular shawl and she was like, people, get off my back, okay? Yeah, exactly. We're people. People change their minds. People like different things at different times in their lives, and that's okay. I think that is so important to remember that we're not like a TV show character here. You don't have like a script you have to follow. Just we're just here sharing parts of our lives. And again, it's part of our lives, right? People just need to remember that we're real human beings. I think that's all I'm trying to say here. We're real human beings. We can choose what parts of our lives we want to open to the doors of the internet and what parts we want to keep private. And yeah. Okay, tangent off of a tangent off of a tangent. I think I'm done now. Thank you so much for spending some time with me in this space today. I hope you are doing well, taking good care of yourselves, your loved ones, and your neighbors. Cheers to being creative. I will talk to you next time.